What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports. I am back to you guys with another video, and I'm here with my Jacksonville Jaguars 2021 rec prediction. Going to be giving you guys my best case scenario, my worst case scenario, and my overall prediction for the Jacksonville Jaguars this upcoming season. Before I begin, if you haven't already, make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss when I upload a new video. And most importantly, make sure that you help a brother out. Hit that like button, because that like button is really important. When you hit that like button, you help the channel rank higher in the YouTube search algorithm. If the channel ranks higher in the YouTube search algorithm, then the channel gets more views and the channel grows. So make sure that you guys hit that like button. It takes less than a second to do, and it is a free way to support the channel. Now, as you guys already know, I am higher than 99.9% of people out there on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to surprise a lot of people this season. Now, we already know last year they went 1-15. They were in last place in the AFC South, and they won the Trevor Lawrence Tank Bowl pretty much. So you bring in Trevor Lawrence, and I think he's going to do a lot of good things for the Jaguars this season. On top of that, you bring in Urban Meyer, long storied head coach in college football for Florida and Ohio State. And the Jaguars have a really good team. But a lot of people in the media try to make it seem like the Jaguars have one of the worst rosters in the NFL, and that is not true. The Jaguars improved corner, which was a big Achilles heel for this team last year. You bring in Shaquill Griffin. Now, I'm not a big Shaquill Griffin fan. As a matter of fact, I didn't like the signing, but he's better than what the Jaguars have had. Last year, the Jaguars basically had guys off the street playing cornerback, and C.J. Henderson also missed a good amount of time last year due to injury. So Shaquill Griffin, I mean, he's not bad, but he's not great. He's really inconsistent. He can play really good at times, but he also can be really bad at times as well. Now, you look at the linebacker unit for Jacksonville. You got Joe Schobert, you got Miles Jack. You're pretty set there. Edge rusher, you have Josh Allen, who I think he should bounce back to what he was his rookie season, where he had 10 sacks. Last year, his season got kind of held back by injuries. You got Caleb Von Chasen. Hopefully, he can break out, because he didn't really have a great rookie season last year. The only issue and my concern with the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is going to be the interior of their defensive line when it comes to who's playing nose tackle and who's playing defensive tackle. But outside of that, the Jaguars have really improved overall. On offense, you got Marvin Jones, you got DJ Chark, you got Laviska Shenault, who had a really solid rookie season. You got James Robinson and Travis Etienne, which is going to be your your 1-2 punch at running back. Like, the Jaguars have some talent, and their offensive line isn't bad neither. The offensive line wasn't great last year because they had a bunch of injuries, but when that unit is fully healthy, that's a pretty solid unit. So I think the Jaguars are going to be a lot better than what 99% of you guys are giving them credit for. And if I was able to bet, I would put cash down that the Jaguars will win at least 5 games or more this season. And let me tell you guys something. I am not a Jaguars fan, and I've lived in the city of Jacksonville for like, 15 years? I moved down here when I was like 3 or 4. I'm 19 years old now, and this is the best Jaguars team from a talent standpoint that I've seen in all my years living in Jacksonville. So I'm not overrating this team. I'm not being biased. Like, trust me, I've lived in Jacksonville for several years, and I've never really watched the Jacksonville Jaguars game unless they were either playing the Steelers or I had somebody on my fantasy football team, which was James Robinson last year. So I really haven't really paid that attention to the Jacksonville Jaguars all that much when it comes to watching their games. So there's no way you can expect somebody in national media to tell you that they're watching all 17 games for the Jacksonville Jaguars and they know this team inside and out, because they're lying to you. Because if somebody who lives in the city of Jacksonville isn't paying to the Jacksonville Jaguars because they haven't been great, what makes you think that people in the national media are doing it? Come on, man. Like, let's think for a second. If JT lives in the city of Jacksonville and barely watches any Jacksonville Jaguar games, what makes you think people on ESPN, FS1, and CBS are watching Jacksonville Jaguars play? Let's be honest. Nobody. Nobody, unless they have money on the game or have one of these Jacksonville Jaguar players on their fantasy football team, are watching the Jacksonville Jaguars play. Honestly. Like, people in the national media really irritate me because they don't really know this team. Somebody tried to tell me the Jaguars don't have no linebackers. Joe Schobert had a really good year. Miles Jack is one of the best linebackers in the league. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So you don't even know who I bet a lot of you non-Jaguar fans out there can't even name me 4 players on the Jacksonville Jaguars team without using Google. 4 players. What? No Trevor Lawrence and nobody who they drafted. Name me 4 players who the Jacksonville Jaguars did not draft in this past year's draft that you can name on this roster right now without using Google. I'm pretty sure 80% of you guys cannot. Goes to my point. A lot of you guys think I'm overrating Jacksonville when really a lot of you guys are underrating Jacksonville. And when we come back at the end of the season, and when Jacksonville wins more than 5 games, I'm going to come back and say, I told you so. Now, my best case scenario for Jacksonville is going to be 7-10. Believe it or not, I'm not all that high on Jacksonville like a lot of you guys think. A lot of you guys think that I have Jacksonville making it to the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't. I think they can win 7 games this year. You look at the roster, this is a pretty solid roster. Yeah, they can get better at certain positions, but this roster isn't the worst in the NFL or one of the worst in the NFL like some people are trying to make it out to be. Now, you have Urban Meyer. We know how good of a college head coach he was. Regardless of the whole cheating jokes and things like that, Urban Meyer was a really great college head coach. Now, we don't know how success he's going to have, and we don't know how much success he's going to have in the NFL, but this year, I think he can have a pretty solid, successful year if everything goes right, because you do have Trevor Lawrence, you do have a solid roster. As long as everybody can stay healthy, the Jaguars are going to be a competitive football team, and I can see this team winning 7 games, maybe more, but I'm not going to push it. I'm going to set the bar as the best case scenario for Jacksonville at 7 games. Now, my worst case scenario for Jacksonville is 3-14. Now, I could be completely wrong about this team, and this team probably could be worse than what I think they are, which I don't think they're bad, but they could be pretty bad because they did have the #1 overall pick for a reason, and even though they did get better in the offseason, maybe it's not enough. Maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars still somehow prove me wrong, and I'm just completely wrong about this team, and this team ends up crapping the bed. Which if the Jacksonville Jaguars go 3-14 next year, then, well, this season, then, I'll come on here and I'll publicly admit and say that I'm wrong. You look at this team, the offensive line has been unable to stay healthy, really. Had a lot of different offensive lineups last year due to the injuries and whatnot. You got Jawan Taylor at right tackle, which I don't really know if he's going to even be starting. He hasn't really been all that great. He's been one of the biggest disappointments because when he was coming out of the draft a couple of years ago out of Florida, he was supposed to be the best offensive tackle in that draft class. He was supposed to go in the top 10. He ended up falling to the 2nd round, and now we're starting to see why he fell to the 2nd round, and I think he probably could be in the position battle come training camp with rookie offensive tackle Walker Little, who the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted in the 2nd round of this past year's draft out of Stanford. That concerns me. The interior of that defensive line concerns me. So there are some concerns, and maybe Trevor Lawrence doesn't have a great rookie season. Maybe he struggles. Maybe he isn't going to be as good right out the gates as a lot of people are expecting him to be. And maybe Urban Meyer makes a lot of mistakes in his first season being a head coach in the NFL. The NFL is way different from the college game. So before I get into my overall prediction, I want to tell you guys my 2 swing games for the Jacksonville Jaguars this season. Week 4 against Cincinnati is one of them because that's a Thursday night game. That's going to be on a short week. Now, the first couple of games that you play are not that difficult. They're all winnable games. You play the Texans, you play the Broncos, and you play Arizona. You go on the road to face Cincinnati. So these are all winnable games. All games that Jacksonville has a pretty solid shot at winning. So you can go into that Thursday night matchup maybe 3-1 somehow. Maybe, well, not 3-1. Well, 2-1. Maybe you go 1-2. Like, you can enter that Bengals game in a pretty good spot. And if you win that Bengals game, then maybe you end up going 3-1, 2-1 or something like that. So for Jacksonville, after that Cincinnati game, the schedule really starts to pick up. You got to face Tennessee, the Dolphins. You got a bye week, week 7. Then you got to face Seattle on the road, Buffalo, Indianapolis, the 49ers. The Jacksonville Jaguars aren't going to have another game that they're going to be a favorite to win, probably into Atlanta. So then that leads to my next swing game, which is against the Tennessee Titans week 14. This is going to be late in the season. The Jacksonville Jaguars probably aren't really going to be in playoff contention. They may be, they may not. But you look at that week 14 matchup, Tennessee is. And I believe that Jacksonville is going to end up stealing a game from both the Tennessee Titans and Indianapolis. And if you're a Tennessee Titans fan, they pretty much could do it late in the season, which is going to be really detrimental to the Tennessee Titans because that's a team that is going to be in that playoff conversation. And then with a late season loss to Jacksonville could kind of halt their playoff momentum, and maybe they could be on the outside looking in. But maybe Jacksonville somehow could be in the playoff discussion. You know, not the front run, but somehow they're still in the playoff hunt. And then after you play Tennessee, you have a pretty easy schedule outside of that. You play the Texans and the Jets coming up. Then you got to face New England. Then you end up closing the season out with Indianapolis. Now, my overall record prediction for the Jacksonville Jaguars this season is going to be 6-11. I think this team is going to be winning at least 6 games, and they're going to be really competitive. I don't think Jacksonville is going to get blown out. I think they're going to be in a lot of one-possession games, which is the ball bouncing in a different direction. You could see Jacksonville winning a little bit more. So 6-11, I could see this team winning 7 or 8 games. And I think a lot of you guys are sleeping on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think this team is going to be one of the worst in the NFL. This is going to be a competitive football team. So you guys let me know your record prediction for the Jacksonville Jaguars down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.